Hello and welcome in. I am Miss Kinghorn and we are back here in our Red Lane Zoo, and we are back with the first animal from the Americas animal pack. So yeah, great. I was so nearly done with the zoo, and I was planning for the future and what we were going to do, and yeah, then they decided to do this to me. So thanks, Frontier and the Planet Zoo team. But I still love you because these guys are super cute. And the animals are great. I'm a bit underwhelmed with it, I've got to be honest. So I was looking at the animals and they're just a bit meh. They're not. Yeah, they're not. I don't know how to describe it. They're just not what I was really expecting, or what I would really think from the team when we're kind of coming to the end of this game. And I mean, to be fair, they've not actually really said that it's coming to the end. I think it's just kind of presumed. But if they do keep running the two side by side, that could be pretty good for Planet Zoo. There is loads of animals that I would love to see in game. I would love to see this keep running. I don't know if it really is. But anyway, let's move on from that. We are here building for the bush dogs. Now, I kind of had a look through and have decided what animals I'm going to place into here, what animals we're not really going to worry about, and what animals we can kind of move into pre-existing habitats. So the Rhea has gone in with the llamas and the alpacas. The flamingos, when we did the flamingo habitat, and if you hadn't seen it, definitely go back and view it. I will put a card up in the top corner for that specific episode. But we kind of pretended that they were the Chilean flamingos because that was a lot more in keeping than the greater flamingos, which we actually had to put because they're the only ones we had. So I'm thinking in the future I might just go back through and just change the animals out, not change anything to do with the habitat or anything like that, just literally just change the animals over. But I think we're probably going to get maybe about 4 or 5 of the new animals into this area. Obviously, we do have pre-existing animals still to go in, i.e. 2. So yeah, we're prolonging the series a little bit longer and delaying any other future work. But you know, these things tend to happen. It's fine. We'll get there in here. So while I have been waffling, what have you seen me doing? You have seen me build this fencing here. I absolutely love this little fence. It actually came from a real life zoo that I kind of took inspiration from. I can't remember the zoo's name off the top of my head. It's in Germany. It is one of the very few animal habitats that I could actually find for the bush dog that had like footage of. So there where I kind of took some inspiration from this sort of habitat in here with sort of the limestone and then this little sort of soft fencing just to kind of stop them from escaping. Obviously in the zoo I do have escaping off, so it might not be quite high enough for them, but it's high enough that the guests can kind of see. And you can see I have also placed the plaster all over the footpath around here as well, so that it's a little bit glitchy, and it has to be quite a long way away from the fence. That's just because I have water and terrain manipulation in here. It's just one of those things, and for half the zoo we have covered it up in here. But we have this large sort of swimming pool kind of area in here. I spent about half an hour trying to get the cinematics for this. One of them swam probably about a foot into the water, allowed me to take a screenshot, turn around and got out. That's it. I didn't see any diving, I didn't see really any swimming, and I've got to be honest, I had to be quite clever when I took that screenshot because I've got a feeling the feet were still on the floor, but it just looked like they were underwater. So I'm kind of giving you the illusion, but they can swim, they can dive. I just can't replicate it in here. I've got to be honest, it took me forever to try and get the cinematics because they didn't really do a great deal. They slept. I have, out of that sort of half an hour-ish footage, like 15 minutes, 10 minutes of it is just watching them sleep. And in the end, I actually had to like pick them up and move them to try and get them to do something because I was bored trying to watch them in here. But I do have a slight disclaimer, this habitat is not quite big enough. I have 4 adults in here and no juveniles, and it's not big enough. I didn't really expect them to need such big of a habitat, I've got to be honest. All of the pictures that I saw pre sort of the animals actually coming out, the habitats are quite small and they all seem fine. They've all got everything that they really need. You just put them in here and they need so much. And so I kind of was torn between making this ridiculously large for them and then making it what other zoos in real life have kind of got. And I've kind of gone for a happy little medium here. So we've got a large sort of body of water. We've got plenty of sort of space for them. I have had to move some of the rocks down just to try and sort of make it a little bit easier. And I'm literally clawing like meters in square footage and calling it a victory, because it was really difficult to actually try to get them in there, and their hitboxes are huge. I don't quite understand why they needed such a big box, but anyway, we kind of got them in here and I think it looks quite cute. Obviously, I will let you be the judge down in the comments. Let me know what you are like, what you don't like, what you want to see more. Do you want me to see an expansion to this habitat? Let me know. But let's have some facts for the bush dog. Now, they are listed as near threatened by the IUCN in there, and they are found in Central and Southern Americas, mostly in sort of Southern America in there, and they are actually closely related to the maned wolves, and the African wild dog is their kind of closest sort of family relatives, which we already have the maned wolves in the zoo. African wild dogs obviously weren't in the zoo, but when the world obviously was all interconnected, they probably split and moved into there. But they are adorable little guys in here. They have a shoulder height of about 20 to 30 centimeters, so that kind of tells you just how tall they are, which that's like 8 to 12 inches for anybody who wants to know that. And they can weigh as little as 5 kilograms. That's tiny in here. So adult bush dogs have long, soft brownish kind of tan fur with lighter reddish kind of tinged hair on their heads and necks and backs, with a long sort of bushy tail. Their undersides, like stomach and that, are darker as well, whilst the juveniles have black fur covering their entire bodies in there. Right. What have we done with this habitat? So you can basically see we've kind of added a little bit of a raised section at the back. I thought having this as a kind of a nice sort of raised area would kind of give some height to this habitat, and also allow the visitor to look up and sort of see the animals in there and create a really nice sort of play kind of area for them in there. We're using a lot of sort of the stalactites that we use pretty much throughout the zoo. I've got to be honest, they seem to be one of the things that we've taken from pretty much all of the habitats, which I absolutely love in here. And lots of planting. I wanted it to feel very kind of green and very sort of grassy and a little bit overgrown, but also with plenty of space for you to kind of see and for the animals to run around. So I've used a lot of the buffalo grass. I absolutely love this grass. It goes in pretty much everywhere in there, and it just creates a really nice kind of base for sort of the animals, and they can just walk around and it doesn't affect them in any way, shape or form. But now we're working on this little hard shelter in here. This hard shelter is actually going to grow, so whilst I show you a little bit of it, it's not fully done and it's not how it's going to look at the very end, because we are going to have another habitat kind of attached on the side of this in here, but we'll work on that at a later date, and we'll sort of finish off the sort of sides in this. Now we're getting in the plaster. I've kind of gone for a soft grey in the inside of here. Normally I go for like a green or a light blue, but this one I wanted it to be a little bit different. And we also have this kind of viewing area kind of window at the very front, and then we have a sort of separation kind of sleeping area for them at the back in here, which then leads on to this kind of private area around here where they can be separated, where they can go and spend some time where they're not really on display. It is a very small space. I do make it slightly bigger, so that is the one area where I really tried to get this habitat to grow a little bit. I think is probably the one way we can put it in here. So at this point I still didn't really know how big this habitat was, or how big I really needed it. I thought this was going to be plenty. Turns out I was completely wrong, but anyway, we finish this sort of roofing area of here. We get in some lighting and get this building up and running. Eventually, once I have finally finished the information boards, which I actually haven't done when I took the screenshots. For some reason, I'm really struggling to actually get in there and kind of create these boards. I feel like I'm just kind of recording at the moment. I haven't really spent time doing any information boards, but once we've done those, they are going to be added to our walking tour that we have basically throughout. We kind of have, I think it's about 4 of them that we have in different sort of zones, that you can walk around all of the different sort of areas with an educator, and we'll get all of those in as well, and we'll sort of see that at the end when we do a tour, whenever the end may be, in here as well. But using the kind of normal roofing that we would kind of go for, especially in this sort of area where we just have plaster and then we have this sort of bigger trim on the sort of outside of it, and then using, as per usual, the Indonesian wood pieces, we kind of add a little bit of a kind of wooden facade to this building. Now I show you only the front. I have actually gone all the way around, but as I say, this building is going to increase, so it will change, and we'll get that in as well. And I just did a little bit more detail work to this window just to kind of make it pop out a little bit more, and so you can sort of see the animals in there. I think that's going to be a really nice little viewing, like into the kind of like the private little hidden areas for them if they're sort of all snuggled up. And I did make sure that they can access all of this, and as I say, most of the cinematic shot was just them sleeping, which they sleep in the inside back section on their little bedding, which I thought was kind of perfect and what I really wanted in here. But now we're working on this sort of separation, kind of small little area around here. We're just going to place in some rocks and some planting and a little bit of enrichment just to kind of encourage them to come in here. But we are coming up to the end of this video. It's only a quick one this week. So yeah, if you have enjoyed this video, then please give a big thumbs up down below. Comment on your favourite thing and which animal you want to see next. And you can also subscribe to my channel, it would mean so much to me. Or you can follow me on pretty much all social medias. The link to those is down in the description as well. But for now, I'll leave you with the cinematics. But until next time, stay happy and stay building. Bye everyone!